based upstairs here, and we deal with a lot of small to medium-sized businesses, helping them with their accounting, tax, and business growth. For some of you, this is the first step in the process of getting your business ready for sale, and that's basically what the series of seminars was planned around. So we realise that there's a lot of businesses in this area and all over New Zealand really, where the owners are going to be getting to the stage where they want to retire and sell their business. And unless they get their businesses ready, they won't be able to get the profit that they wanted to out of it for their retirement. Some of the statistics are that only 20% of businesses that are actually put up for sale end up getting sold. So what we hope to do is to be part of those, of our clients being part of those 20% that do get the figure that they want when they sell. So the seminars are basically set up to talk about what options are available for selling a business, what you need to do to get that sale, and how you can maximise your price. I'm just going to repeat a couple of things we talked about last month because some of you were here and some of you weren't, so and even those that were here probably have forgotten, so I'll repeat it. So last month we talked about the possibility of baby boomers who weren't able to sell their businesses, and there's an article in the pack that's on your seat about a business in Sydney. The business was supposedly valued at $5 million, but when the owners went to sell, it was actually valued at $0. And basically, you know, there's a whole lot of raft of reasons, and the article will tell you those. But it's really interesting just to see what the difference is between what people's expectations are on selling a business and what the reality is. A lot of people ask us about valuing their business, and basically it comes down to you have to have a buyer, and your business is only worth what that person will pay. So you can get a whole lot of people coming along to value your business, but in the end it's only what someone will pay that you can get for it. Just something else that I was talking recently to Ciela Misa from Wynyard Wood, and she speaks a lot with she does a lot of work with immigration. And what she was saying is that over the past few years there's been a lot of people able to come into New Zealand and buy businesses as part of the immigration process. And that has given the opportunity for people, New Zealanders, to sell their businesses because we're getting a lot of immigrants coming in who want to buy. But more recently, the government has changed their tack, and basically that you can only come in under that particular possibility if your business you're buying has something to do with export. So it has really reduced the number of people able to come into New Zealand to buy businesses, and therefore reduced the pool of people that are buying. We talked about the business life cycle, and I just wanted to go through that again. So businesses that are ready to sell are usually in this three bits, and you've got a copy of this in your folder. You're either in expansion mode and you need to continue to grow, or you're in the mature stage where you're complacent and you're ripe for new entrants into your markets, or lastly you might be in the exit stage, and the problem here is that you need to do something different. You need to move back into the growth stage to be ready to sell. And the other thing we talked about was the 4 learnings of business, and this really relates to the people that are speaking today. So we've got Doug Hitchcock, who previously owned a company called Glassfields, and Hugh Chapman, who owned a company called Pty Limited in Australia, and they're going to be explaining to you exactly what they did. But they've been through this process. So the first thing is that as a start off, you have to learn how to be in business, and that's usually as a wage earner and someone who comes into a business when they first leave school. And you're basically learning how to work, how to be in a business as an employee. The second stage is learning the business itself, and that's basically learning about your business that you're working in. And these two basically are working in your business. The next thing that you move to is that you learn how to lead in your business. And at that stage you should be working on your business. And the fourth stage is learning to let go. And it's really important at the learning to let go stage that you have something else to do, because otherwise it's very hard to let go from the business. So basically we're going to run this as a question and answer session. As I said, we've got Hugh and Doug here today. Both of them are clients of Monte Carter, and they've been successful in selling their businesses. And I'm just going to ask them a few questions about their businesses leading up to the sale. Both of these gentlemen have achieved the dream and don't have to work anymore if they don't want to. I do know though...
I believe that.
I do know though that they are both very active, and Hugh is still involved in some way with the business and doing some plumbing work. Doug has purchased a small farm on which he can spend his free time, and he's always working out there. So they definitely don't sit around doing nothing, but they can choose what they do, which is the ultimate aim for all of us. So firstly, thank you Hugh and Doug for coming along, and Hugh, I'll just run through some questions, if you don't mind. So firstly, if you can give us a bit of a background on your work experience, when you started in business, the work that you've done, how you started in leak detection, and just, about being in business, if you can, for us.
Thanks, Karen. I started as a plumber, did a plumbing apprenticeship, and in 1979 and 1980 I started my own business, just working out of Mum and Dad's place out of Manurewa. I used Doug Montgomery as my accountant, and I trained a couple of apprentices along the way. Did some new work, but mostly was jobbing work. I did some of the cheaper homes and got the ball rolling, and generally just general plumbing work around South Auckland. Things were ticking on all right. The apprentices come and went, and one runs his own business now. He mainly drain lane, and got a digger, and the other's a high flyer for Colliers down here at Highbrook, who I see now and again. When about 15 years ago I was getting a stitch with calling under houses after 25 years of calling under houses and climbing up ladders, and I was getting a few call outs to domestic properties and people with water pipe leaks between the street and their house, water main leaks, to get the high water account. And I thought there must be a way to sort this out, and I tracked down a company around the road here that sold leak detection equipment, and it took a bit of working out how it all operated. And it can hear the water pipe leak generally under the ground if you know where the pipeline is. And if you're a plumber, you've got some idea, but not always, because the ones I get called to are usually down the right of way, so they're usually a nice long driveway. And if you can locate where the water main is and you can listen on top of it, you'll find where the water leak is, particularly on the concrete or the asphalt. The grass gets a bit harder, but there's other telltale signs on the grass for underground leaks. And you need the water pressure, you need the water on, and you need the pressure. And the machine I got was like a stethoscope, but it was electronic. It had dials and buttons and lights and all the gear. So that's when I started into the leak detection.
Thank you. So what is leak detection, and who's involved with leak detection, types of clients, the industry worldwide, and examples of companies involved in this industry?
What I ended up mainly doing was the leak detection in the street. It was you listen on the fire hydrants and the valves in the street. The pipes are all under pressure. They're generally 4-inch, 100mm diameter, and they can go up to 300mm. That's unusual for the reticulation mains. And I would listen on the valves and the water meters and listen for water pipe leaks. And there's a few got in on the act at the moment. I see a few vans driving around now with leak detection on, and so that's sort of picked up. I'm unsure whether somebody's franchised them or what's happened, but there's a few about now doing it. Worldwide there, it's been going a little while. When I first went to a few seminars overseas, these Englishmen would stand up and say how the leak detection started in 1850s in London with a broomstick, and they would walk around listening with a broomstick on valves and on things there, listening for water leaks. And believe it or not, you can hear them. More recently, metallic sort of listening sticks people use now that people can use that are good for workmen to have in the back of their truck. Council workers that are looking for water care workers, because they're not electronic, they're a bit hard to break. You put them on a valve, you can listen on them, and if you're any good, you can hear a water leak. It's pretty big worldwide, the water conservation and unaccounted for water is what the accountants look for, because that's not paid for. Particularly if you're a water supplier, if you're water care, it's crowded over in the corner here. If you're the water supplier and you're putting out 100 or 1,000 litres and you're only billing out 80 or 800 litres, you've got a water leak. And they've got all sorts of technical equipment that are beyond me to measure stuff during the night flows, and they can put meters on different sites and work out where leakage is. And that unaccounted for water all costs money to make, believe it or not. You know, they've got to clean it and throw chemicals in it and pump it, supply the infrastructure. I've actually been pretty lucky going around the world going to these water loss conferences. I haven't been to one for a few years. One that certainly springs to mind is I went to one in Romania, and they've just gone from the lei to the RON, their currency, and they shifted it 4 decimal points. So the newspapers used to cost 1,000 or 10,000, and now they cost $1 or something like that. But I had a spare day and I went up to Dracula's castle. So there is some people never believe me that you had a castle, but I went up to Transylvania and went to Dracula's castle. But there's a lot of engineers are needed in that industry. So if you know engineers that want to get into it, and it's not just leak detection, it's huge. The water industry is huge worldwide. And one figure they chuck around is the food industry, because it takes water to grow the food. It's estimated that 50% of the food that's grown is wasted between field and fork. You chuck it out. So they're looking at all sorts of options on how to use the water. In New Zealand we're all right, but you go to other countries and it's a waste, because they're wasting the water to grow the food.
So, how has the industry grown, and who are your competitors in the industry? And what made you think about moving to Australia?
Well, firstly, I went to work in Australia. I answered a tender in the New Zealand Herald in early 2000, the year 2000, before the Olympics in Sydney. And I answered a tender there, and there were 3 companies applied, and we all got a parcel of work through Sydney Water. And there weren't many people doing it. There was one chap in Sydney doing it, and he also did swimming pools, and the other competitor, he was round the corner from here also. But back then I nearly doubled the mortgage on the house and bought a machine called the Correlator that for the Sydney work was magnificent, because you could put a sensor at one point and a sensor at another point and punch in a few numbers regarding the pipe diameter and the pipe material, and it would tell you where the water main leak was. This is particularly in the street, and that there weren't many of them going around in New Zealand or Australia. So that was advantageous.
And just to let you know, so Hugh's son is Hugh as well, and he got involved in the business when they moved, after they moved to Australia. So Hugh was, what was his part and how essential was it having a young person who was more savvy with computers and things like that and the ability to grow your business?
Well, my boy was pretty good. He snuck in through a plumbing apprenticeship somehow, but he was a computer man, and he's forgotten more about computers than I know now still, and so he could do all that, and because we were tendering for work with water supplies and ticking boxes, which was a nightmare for a plumber.
There was a lot of compliance work, wasn't there, that he helped you with?
Yeah, we had to get, in the end we got health and safety, quality and management, all those processes in place, environmental protection, all that sort of stuff, and you all know the stories with the meetings and audits and all that sort of stuff to get reaccredited. If you're ACC accredited here, primary or secondary, it's like that, but worse. But as they said to me in Australia, it's the ticket to the game. If you haven't got it, you don't get in. They just open the envelope and fold it up again.
So it's essential for putting in the tenders that you had all those boxes ticked?
Yes,
Yeah.
all that accreditation.
So once you moved into Australia, what were the major issues that you faced?
Breaking
As my father-in-law used to say, it's a good place except it's full of Australians. You had the different, they run businesses different over there, with tax, and I went to a seminar a few years ago, and the chap from Mainfreight stood up and said they got their own culture over there. And he said they tried to make the Kiwi culture over there, and it didn't work the first time with Mainfreight, but that's quite sorted now.